if shit hits the fan and we're close. If something goes bad, so I'm ready. I got the documents ready. I got basic food with me. I know where my hardware wallets are. I know where my documents and passports are. Like to be able to bag out in 5 minutes. The only person who can access own funds is you, only you. From 120 to 140, or if it goes back to 80 or back to 40, I really don't care.
Bitcoin is numbers go down technology, because if you store your wealth in Bitcoin, things get cheaper and cheaper to you. So
remember that you have to fight for freedom. You have to do everything possible to be sovereign with money and with your mobility. To be able to say, fuck it, you need to have option.
Welcome back to your Bitcoin Story podcast with your host, Gigi. Today's guest is Jan Marvan, also known as Stallion online. He is the CEO of Hacking Lives, a company helping people exit the system and reclaim their freedom through strategic Plan B setups, tax-free business structures, and relocation services to Paraguay. Jan empowers individuals to build sovereign lives rooted in Bitcoin values. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure on my side.
Well, thank you for taking the time to come on. And first of all, thank you very much for this t-shirt that I'm repping from Hacking Lives, which you graciously gifted to me at this year's BTC Prague, where I got the chance to actually meet you in person. I've been seeing you around conferences for the last 2-3 years, but somehow our paths never crossed through. But I'm glad we got to connect earlier this summer.
Same on my side. Yeah, definitely. It took kind of like 2-3 years, right? I guess.
yeah. Well, at least it took 3 years and not 10 years. So at least we got in at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
Perfect. So, Jan, like we do with all episodes, before we get into the different topics and different rabbit holes of your life and what you do day to day, do you want to take us back to how you initially discovered Bitcoin and what was your initial reaction to it?
I think it's going to be pretty boring, as always, because like it's nothing really special. I would say that I heard about it like, 2012 or something for the first time. And obviously it didn't ring the bell and I was too busy to run a company. So, you're doing the daily execution, you're dealing with like operations and you have to deal with every stuff in the company. So it was like, okay, I don't have time for that. I need to run the business. First like 2012 or something, nothing.
Full dismiss.
Yeah. I think like a lot of people can relate that when you drop some kind of bomb on them and say, hey, look, you should check that out. You know that the day is 24 hours. Let's put it this way. If you're really like pushing it forward, maybe you're working 15 hours a day and you're like, okay, I don't have time for anything else. I have to push my business forward.
Yeah.
And obviously that was my case, like pushing business forward and I don't have a time to like distract with something else. Anyway, later on, I came across kind of like a life situation and I was in need to move money from one side of the world to another side of the world, and obviously that country is pretty like restricted and is not a part of like I would say like Western culture, and till today the country is very like blocked in communication with other countries. And I was like, okay, so there are not many options. How can I move that money on a regular basis? Obviously, banking system is not working. A lot of scrutiny, if we can call it even scrutiny. And okay, so I came across to Bitcoin, not from the reasons of like NGU, like number go up, but for me, it was a real solution of pain in the ass. Like how to move freely money from one side of the world to another side of the world. And that's why I came across to a technology and I said, hey, that the only option I have right now is Bitcoin. And So I tried it. I gave it a try. It worked. And since then, it's working for me. And honestly, anytime I can, or many times I even have to, I'm using like Bitcoin as a transfer for value from one person to another. And especially we talk about the countries that they are somehow restricted because of the totalitarian regimes and governments that they are not in favor of like freely moving the money.
Mm.
So you don't have any other option. So let's say it might be like around 216 or something. So then basic the necessity to make the transfer, I came across Bitcoin, and since then, yeah, it's like wow.
If you're enjoying the show, it would mean a lot to me if you'd hit subscribe and leave a quick rating or review. It helps more people find these conversations and support the mission. And if you need help getting your Bitcoin off exchanges and into self-custody, or if you're ready to build a robust, bespoke inheritance plan, the Become Unruggable one-on-one consulting program where you will work exclusively with me is exactly what you're looking for. You can find all the ways to reach out to me in the show notes down below. It's a different world. No, it's interesting kind of your journey into Bitcoin was, and I just said, most people, I don't care what people say, but 99.9% of people get into Bitcoin with the NGUs with, oh, I can make X amount of money on this. And then there's different rabbit holes. They go for the revolution, or they go on full degen mode and leverage trading and get wrecked and whatnot. But your case was pure, I need the tool, I need the solution, and Bitcoin is the optimal solution. And after you tested the waters, you were like, wow, I'm not going back. I'm just gonna fully use the system. And I think this is something that's really missing in today's Bitcoin culture, where it's all, especially now with this whole treasury, Bitcoin stonks and everything. It's really becoming and the global marketing from the BlackRocks and everything is this Bitcoin store of value more than means of exchange, where going back to Satoshi, when he published the white paper, the second line says peer-to-peer electronic cash, right? It's meant to be used, as you just explained, to move value from point A to point B. May that be another person, company, or another wallet in another part of the world that you own. And it's kind of sad in my eyes that we're at this all-time high. Everybody's celebrating 110, 120K, whatever the fiat value of Bitcoin is today. But then you open up mempool and it's like we're clearing empty blocks at all-time highs, which to my knowledge has never happened in previous all-time high bull markets where the mempool is just empty. What's your take on that, Stallion?
Yeah, like you're 100% right. It's a little bit different this time. Like you mentioned, all the previous cycles that we've been to, everybody was like being like having a FOMO, not fear of missing out. And I would say there was a much more interest from a retail. And it was like, okay, hey, it goes to $1,000, then it goes to 20,000. Okay, then it goes to 60,000. And the retail, I would say, was able to like move with the price in those levels of, let's say, 1,000 or maybe 20K. It was somehow doable. Now, like you mentioned, it's more about like ETFs and how many Bitcoin kind of like a treasury companies that they grew up in the last year. It's like 100 of them right now. Okay, we want to have Bitcoin on our balance sheet, and we're gonna be like trying to leverage Bitcoin for you to grow faster.
Yet our
This
business
is
is dying and we're zombie companies doing absolutely nothing in the world, giving zero value. But we'll hold Bitcoin on our treasuries, right? That will save us.
yeah. It's we're gonna hold Bitcoin in our treasuries. You're gonna make more money quicker than normal stuff. So you have to somehow like leverage Bitcoin. And a little bit my take on that is like in the Western world, I see Bitcoin as a store of value for majority of people. I don't know what is your kind of experience, but anytime I talk to somebody, and let's say from the Western world, it's about like, okay, I need to protect my purchasing power.
Yeah.
And in that case, everybody's like, okay, let's buy Bitcoin, let's sit on that, or maybe let's put it into that Bitcoin treasury company, or let's buy ETFs. And what I'm kind of like, I understand it on one side that they don't have a problem with the daily operations and sending the value like from one physical person to another. But when you step out a little bit from the Western world and you're living or you're communicating or having some kind of like a business or supporting as a remittances, like people that they are not part of the Western world, you need Bitcoin as a transfer of value. And obviously, I would say it's still minority compared to that store of value kind of like a narrative that is in a Bitcoin industry.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you mentioned, you already said that it's a peer-to-peer way how to transfer value from one person to another. It was meant to be like that. I'm a strong believer in that. I don't care about if it makes it from 120 to 140 or if it goes back to 80 or back to 40. I really don't care. I need to transfer value from one part of the world to another part of the world. And probably if you're living a little bit like a global lifestyle, and every listener who's living a little bit global lifestyle, they can imagine like sending money from, let's say, Europe to Africa or Europe to Latin America. I mean, to make a bank transfer, that's a hell of a work. You need to know all the details. It takes 30 minutes to put it together. Then you're making a payment. Then you wait for 5 days. After 5 days, the clearance bank goes back to you that you're missing one letter in the account holder, so they cannot transfer your money. It goes back, but they take your fee. So you're at the end of the day, you are like $20 less than before. You still have a bank money on your bank account, and nothing happened, and it took 5 days. With the Bitcoin, you do like that, and let's what like we're talking about like maybe in today's value $1,500. I think you can easily go through on Lightning like without any hiccup. If
Of
you go
course.
more than that, yeah, maybe you do on-chain transaction, it takes maybe 10 minutes, but still in 10 minutes everything's settled, everything's done. I don't have to ask any bank if they are going to transfer their money. So it's a really like a problem solver.
Yeah, and not to mention showing proof of funds, DNA sample, underwear size, like the amount of shit that banks need from you nowadays to like prove where you got the money from, why you sending it to that person. Like it feels like they treat everyone as criminals and terrorists, where you need to prove your innocence to them to move your funds, which is just, it's crazy. And Bitcoin doesn't have like, it doesn't care where you're from, who you're from. If you're a person, an institution, or a government, is just if you initiate the transaction, the output goes out and there's no questions asked. And as you said, 10 minutes, or if the mempool is congested, it takes an hour. But I mean, an hour is still better than 5 business days, and without getting a bounce back and a refund and having to claim other things. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly. And if it takes 1 hour and you're in a rush, okay, so you can just bump up the fee and it goes in 10 minutes. So replaced by fee. So RBF works. So there is no problem at all. So definitely, for myself, Bitcoin is how to move value from one person to another. It's like a number one priority for me. I understand the store of value, and I totally understand that the majority of people see that like in this way. But like transferring is the way to go forward.
It is. I couldn't agree more. And you know, to a certain extent, I don't know why people need to divide the two. Is Bitcoin a store of value to you, or it's a means of payment? In my understanding, and I'm no economist by any degree, but to me, the perfect money is, of course, something that can be transacted with other peers, something that stores its value, and if it increases, even better. But as long as it doesn't, lose value. And the third one is the transportability. I can move my sats anywhere at any point in time, and as long as I know my 12 words, I'm free to take it anywhere, and nobody can really confiscate it of me. So, like, to me, Bitcoin is like the epitome of the greatest money human history's ever had. And I don't know why people are too deep on having these debates. Is it a store of value? Is it a means of payments? Or unit of account? I think Bitcoin has a foot in all of those things, and that's what makes Bitcoin so special.
Exactly. The only thing what I Okay, it's the situation where we are at now, but because of being a store of value, or let's say it goes up in the dollar price
Mm,
with the time, it's kind of like a little bit jeopardizing the kind of like a means of exchange,
yeah.
because due to that aspect of getting more and more dollar value in time on Bitcoin. So I believe that a lot of people are like, okay, I'm not going to be spending it, because like if I'm going to sit on it, so I can make more dollar value in the future. So it's kind of like it's a little bit contradicting the like a means of exchange,
Yeah.
because like obviously everybody can say, okay, let's do the mean of exchange with fiat money, and
Mm,
let's sit on Bitcoin. But on the other hand, okay, so earn Bitcoin. I mean,
yeah.
like, try to earn some Bitcoin. If you're earning Bitcoin, your perception of like what you're doing with Bitcoin is having total shift. Because if
Mm,
if your income is in Bitcoin, so you're spending Bitcoin. Because
correct.
okay, I know that I'm spending, and it's the same behavior like with fiat. You're just managing how much you spend per month, how much you can earn per month, and you're doing the same. And you
Mm,
can just think in a Bitcoin terms and not in fiat terms. I understand it takes a little bit of time, but everybody who's saying, okay, I'm gonna sit on it and do nothing. So I believe it's not the best way to like for a future. So for a
yeah.
future, we should put more emphasis on like work with Bitcoin, use it when we can, spend, not asking permissions any bank or any banksters that they are trying to tell us like what you should or shouldn't do with your money.
Mm,
So with Bitcoin, it's much simpler, and just earn it. Switch at least maybe 50% in the beginning. If you can earn 50 in Bitcoin and 50 in fiat, still people can have a touch somehow with the fiat system. But in
yeah.
the long run, okay, so don't be scared. Like, okay, just do it everything in Bitcoin.
No, for sure. And, at this part, it's important to mention that the low time preference, people are very used to like, oh my God, I bought Bitcoin and then it dips 10% tomorrow. And you're like, oh my God, like I did the wrong move. And then they sell and then they sell. And we see this green candle and it shoots up again. And they're like, oh my God, I should have kept it. And, this whole psychological inception. But people, I realize, focus too much on the NGU numbers go up in fiat terms. What I like to tell people is actually Bitcoin is numbers go down technology. Because if you store your wealth in Bitcoin, things get cheaper and cheaper to you. So why would you not want to spend your Bitcoin? It's like switching your angle from looking at, wow, the fiat value is going up, but actually when you're comparing how many sats on a Bitcoin standard, how many sats you're parting away for different goods and services, it's getting cheaper and cheaper year by year. Maybe not exactly year by year, but like on a long term, every, let's say, cycle, things are way cheaper than they are. But I guess it's hard to reframe your viewpoint on that, because we've been brought up in this legacy fiat corrupt cartel system where it's all about everything keeps going up, 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 spend it now. But yeah, I really encourage people to spend their Bitcoin. If we want to preserve the Bitcoin, what it was designed to be done is just spend your Bitcoin. And if you feel bad spending your stack, when you see a service that accepts Bitcoin, just buy some with your dirty fiat, buy that amount of sats, make the transaction. It'll be even quicker. And I'm sure the business will appreciate it much more that you pay them in sats than fiat, where they need to process, POS system fees. They need to wait for clearing for it to clear through. It's just so much more simpler. And you're supporting the network by doing on-chain transactions.
Exactly. And second thing, what I believe is, if you're earning, let's say, at least a portion, okay, so you can stack it. Okay, that's the first option. Second is that if you're earning monthly some Bitcoin, and you're spending monthly some Bitcoin for goods and services because you have to work somehow and
Yeah.
balance it out, like when you look at the chart long term, so people oftentimes are scared that it's going to dip, like it's going to dip 30-40%. But look, you're earning something in July, and okay, so from that, what I earn in July, I can spend it, let's say, in August for my goods and services I have to pay. Okay, what are the chances in the long term that you're going to have a 40% drop, like from one to another month, like every single month? If that happens, like normally it was like a start in the bear market that we had like, okay, now it crashed 20%, and maybe another month it went down another 20%, but still to drop like a 40% of value, it took months. It was not done within a day in a normal way, if it's not some kind of like a black swan event. And so if you earn 1 million sats and you're paying for goods and services the next month, it's going to have like probably similar value. Okay, maybe you're going to make 5% up, maybe you're going to make like 5% down, but it's not the big difference. So you're earning and spending, and okay, from 1 million you gotta like your costs are 500,000, so you spend 500,000, another 500,000 you can save, so you can keep it in your hardware wallet. And okay, you're like step by step stacking, but also when you're earning and spending, so there is not much fluctuation with I'm scared to have it in Bitcoin because it might drop. Like honestly, it's not going to be dropping 40% like within a couple of days.
For sure. And if you look at statistically, which Bitcoin's all about stats, right? Like on average, the increase is much larger every year than the decrease, unless, as you said, you're in a deep bear market. But that's also temporary, and you can more or less, I don't want to say plan for it, but like you can see when things are going down, maybe at that point, I'm not going to give financial advice, but you can decide for yourself. But in the long term, I mean, it's Bitcoin, when you zoom out, people spend too much time looking at 5-minute candles and 15-minute candles in TradingView. Maybe they should look at, the weekly and the monthly candles. And when they see, oh my God, someone sold 80,000 Bitcoin and Bitcoin's crashing, and you look at it on a monthly candle, you hardly notice anything. So yeah,
I think that there is one proverb that works from the fiat system, right? And it's saying like it's better be in the market than time in the market. And exactly that fits for Bitcoin. If they're thinking about like their dollar value, it's still in the long term to be in the market than like being scared that something might happen the next week and I'm gonna lose the 30%. Okay, I understand that kind of like a inner feeling that you might lose immediately 30%, but long-term being in the market always is going to appreciate. And okay, then trying to time the market. Okay, now I'm going out, now I'm going in. I'm not going to be earning it because I'm too afraid to lose it. So it's kind of like a rat race where you are like just scared and having a not sound sleep, but totally scared of what's going to happen the next week.
That's how you grow gray hair.
Yeah,
Recipe
exactly.
right there.
Yeah.
No,
my gray hair is not from that. Okay,
of course, I didn't mean it that way. No, but like just stressing out, like as you said, and I mentioned this quote many times on the show. Time in the market always beats timing the market, because you'll never time it, no matter how good of a trader you are. Just buying and holding, it's crazy. It's like the easiest thing to do, but you would think, oh no, maybe that's the wrong strategy. I'll try time it, but you always get wrecked when you want to time it.
Exactly.
One more thing I want to touch upon until we shift to the next topic I have in mind is to give some perspective for listeners. Also, if you keep your money now, I'm not saying you have to, but like if you keep majority of your savings and your funds in sats, your spending habits drastically change, because you're valuing things in sats and you're really questioning, do I want to, get this latest new phone, or do I want to get this, I don't know, something that's pretty much irrelevant, that's not going to change your life. Splashing out on a crazy boat ride and like spending 5 million sats, you're like, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I'll delay this gratification for later. So if you compare, if you have, your Revolut account and you just get money in every month, 1, 2, 3,000. At the end of the month, you probably burn through that whatever money came in. But if you get that money and you hold it in sats, and even if it dips a little bit, 5%, likelihood that you're going to have more saved at the end of the month is much greater than holding it in fiat. What's your take on that, Stallion?
Yeah, you're totally right. And also your kind of like a life priorities and spending habits are drastically changing, because like at the end of the day, you, especially when you're getting older, I think it's also like a little bit like a mental shift. I totally get it. Like when you're 20, in your 20s, okay, it's about like what you want from life, and I totally understand that when you're 20s, it's hard to sit on something, and because you're trying to save, you're not getting enough experience. So I would say it's more about like life journey. When you're young, I believe like, okay, you're spending for experiences, for kind of like memories. You say, hey, I want to go to Miami, and I want to be in Miami for a couple of months. Yeah, do it, because you learn something. Okay, it's a new place, you meet new people, maybe you can network with wonderful new individuals you've never met before. Or you say, okay, I'm going to Latin America, how can I save when I'm doing this kind of lifestyle? I know it's pretty hard. On the other hand, when you're gonna get 50, uh, your kind of like energy is gonna be dropping drastically, and you're not gonna be up to everything like in your 20s.
Yeah.
So when you're gonna say to yourself, look, I'm gonna live everything I wanted to in my 50s, I don't think it's gonna happen. Like, not with majority, because they are. I'm too lazy. I'm too old. I'm too
And you
soft.
shift into preservation mode. You're like, oh, like this is the money I've made in the last, 30, 40 years. Like, I want to be rational with my spending.
Yeah. So I think, at least as of now, in my 40s, I think there are like two stages. Now, maybe there are more stages. I cannot tell. But as of now, the
You're at the
first
40
stage.
mark in the game. So
Yeah,
what's
yeah,
the
yeah,
current
yeah.
stage like?
Yeah, I'm running my fourth decade. So first, you're 20, you're spending, you want to have memories, you want to have a travels, you want to meet new people, you want to enjoy your life. I get it. It's
It's
hard
the
to.
YOLO stage. You only
Yeah,
live once. Let's go.
yeah.
All out.
And then later on, you're getting older, and you're like, okay, I lived what I wanted. I'm not saying that I'm staying in one place. That's definitely not my part. I'm all over the places. But okay, I don't need to go to Miami again. Like, I've been there, and I lived there, and okay, it was enough. But your perception is like, what I need really for life in your 40s. It's like, okay, I don't need a every year new iPhone. I don't need a new laptop every year. I don't need to be spending for this and that. And you are more like, okay, what makes you happy, and what makes maybe a little bit better quality of life? And I'm like, okay, so look, we got a 2 months off. Okay, let's fly to, I don't know, somewhere where we've never been to, and we're gonna be spending time over there. We're gonna see how the country looks like, what is the life. So you're like more strict about your spendings later on, because like, if you're rocking a new iPhone, it's not gonna make your life better. It's gonna be the same, and in a week you don't even know you bought a new iPhone.
True.
So it's more like, be more strict about what you're deciding, where to put your money. Now I can see, okay, I'm spending much more on a food. So it's like, okay, I don't want to eat some like crazy shitty garbage. I want to have a good meat. So I'm spending more money, for example, on a more quality meat. And you're trying to find your balance, how to do it. But as you said, your priorities are definitely going to change with a Bitcoin, because then you don't see like a short term kind of gratification. You are looking for something in the long term. And anything you don't need, you're not spending for it. You're like, okay, I don't need it. It's not going to change my life. I don't need a new Lambo. It's not going to change my life. Another thing is, if somebody wants new Lambo, hey, be my guest, do it. Like, I'm not your father to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. But I believe that with a lot of big Bitcoiners, it's kind of like a ring the bell, and they are like, okay, I'm spending just for what I need. And you realize that material kind of products are not making you happy in your life.
Yeah.
That is kind of the main message.
As we look to the future of Bitcoin mining, there are several trends and innovations that are shaping the industry. One of the biggest trends right now is the shift towards more energy efficient hardware. With the rise of ASICs, or application-specific integrated circuits, mining has become more efficient and cost-effective. And with Sazmining, you can rest assured that your mining operation is using the latest and greatest technology to minimize your environmental impact. Another innovation that's changing the mining landscape is the development of more user-friendly mining platforms. With Sazmining, you can easily track your mining progress, adjust your settings, and withdraw your coins whenever you wish to do so. This is making it easier than ever for new miners to join the network and for existing miners to optimize their operations. And with the expert team and state-of-the-art equipment, you can rest assured that your mining operation is running at maximum efficiency. But what about the environmental impact of mining? Isn't it bad for the planet? Actually, most modern mining operations like Sazmining are using renewable energy sources to power their rigs. And with the rise of more efficient mining hardware, the carbon footprint of mining is decreasing every year. In fact, Sazmining is committed to reducing their carbon footprint to almost zero, and they're always looking for new ways to improve their sustainability. Sazmining is committed to staying at the forefront of these trends and innovations and is constantly investing in research and development to improve their mining operations. By mining with Sazmining, you're not only accumulating Bitcoin, but you're also contributing to the advancement of mining industry as a whole. And with their commitments to decentralization and sustainability, you can rest assured that your mining operation is part of a larger, more sustainable ecosystem. Start mining WaltSats today and get $50 off your first rig by signing up with the link in the show notes. Don't miss out on this opportunity to join the mining revolution and start building your wealth. Don't just hold Bitcoin, create it. With Sazmining and join the mining revolution.
It's also funny when people from the outside, they think, like people that have been in Bitcoin for a long time and hold, vast amount of Bitcoin, that they live in this Lambo lifestyle. I'm yet to meet like someone that got into Bitcoin in like 10, 12 years ago that rides a Lambo. Most of them don't even own cars, and they go to different conferences in sandals and like a little bag over their shoulder. You would never think, like the wealth they have. The same reflects in the fiat world. Like I had some opportunities in my lifetime to meet in person some of the billionaires, and those guys, they don't wear no branded t-shirts or like it's just nameless stuff, and it's like they're so normal, quote unquote. Like there is no this flashy. Maybe they have a Mercedes or a Bentley outside, but to them that's not too flashy. It's because they actually won that thing. And it's funny, like the more wealth you accumulate, you focus on the priorities, what it is to you. In the case of Bitcoiners, is to have the full freedom, because if you have a massive villa somewhere and a Lambo and a yacht, you are stuck to that location and you have a lot of paperwork to do, and your identity is on so many different records. But actually, the deeper you go in Bitcoin, the more you learn and the more sovereign you become. You don't actually want to own any of these things. And maybe this is a good way to transition to the next topic, which is something that's dear to both of us, Stallion and myself, which is the topic of self-custody, which most people still yet today in the year 2025 don't practice self-custody. There's people that have been stacking for years and still hold it on exchanges or custodial wallets. Why is self-custody non-negotiable to someone that seriously wants to become a self-sovereign person, Stallion?
Okay, you want to be sovereign, you don't want to rely on a third party, you don't have any other option. Like, that's it. Like, it's the first asset or money where you can have everything under your control. You don't have to ask any permission. It's permissionless. That's why, but to be able to have it this way, we have to have a self-custody. And if we're going to rely on the third parties, and now it doesn't matter if we talk about exchanges, if we talk about like ETF funds, if we talk about like having a wallet that is not open source and is like, let's say, okay, hey, you can have it on a Coinbase wallet that basically is a Coinbase. It's not a wallet that you want to have it in.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely we need to be more vocal about having funds under control. I understand that for a lot of people, it might be kind of like a difficult to switch in their minds, like because it's for the first time for them, like that they have nobody else to have a like customer support. Okay,
No backup.
no backup. I forgot my pin from my credit card. So you make
Yeah.
a call to the bank and they're gonna, okay, we're gonna make a reset or set up a new one. So here you don't have a customer department. Customer service is not non-existent basically. But the thing is that you are
That's a feature,
full.
not a bug, by the way. Sorry for interrupting. That's a feature, not a bug.
Exactly, that's the feature. You are full autonomy. You got a full autonomy over your life. So
Yeah.
you have to be really organized in your life. You need to know what are the kind of like outputs if you're gonna lose your. Everybody probably heard about the seed. It's kind of like 12 or 24 words. If you're gonna lose it, you're gonna lose everything. But that's why it puts more stress on you, in good terms, the stress, to know that, hey, this is really, really important. Okay, I understand that if I'm losing a birth certificate, I can go again to the office and I can have issued a new birth certificate. If I'm going to lose a passport, it's shitty. That's why you should have more passports, by the way. But you can get a new passport again because you go to the office and you got a new passport issued. But then it puts Bitcoin totally apart because you know that the only person who can access own funds is you, only you. And I think it stimulates also your life, like what is important and what is not that important. And if you put it right, nicely this way, a lot of people are like, okay, we have to have all the paperwork good, in a good shape and ready, because like if we're gonna have a mess in it, we're gonna not know what is it, what is what, which is correct and right. But Bitcoin sits on top of it. So you don't want to have a mess in your seeds, in your backups. What is a passphrase? What are the seed words? Some of those basic terms. Okay, what are the options and how to kind of like protect your backups? If it should be on a metal solution or a paper solution, or why it shouldn't be in a digital form, and what are the kind of like repercussions if you're doing it in this way? So also it kind of motivates you to study more in deep. And I believe that being responsible for your own life is beneficial at the end of the day, because Bitcoin can teach you to be more organized in other things. Because if you made it and made it happen with Bitcoin and kind of like a backing up everything, that everything is under control, you can put that kind of organization and being organized to other aspects of life.
Yeah, I love it. The way you put it, where Bitcoin really makes you a responsible person, where the current world that we live in and the current system that's been kind of dumbing us down and outsourcing all of our powers and everything, where we're living through the generation of sitting on the couch, Netflix and chill, open my little supercomputer on my pocket, order food straight to my door. Like I don't have to worry about nothing. It's not like I need to sharpen my sword, go out to the woods and hunt down a buffalo, to have dinner. Like everything is just like so convenient. And then Bitcoin comes in where the convenience is out the door. It's like you lose this, you lose everything. But actually, as you said, Stallion, it really pushes you to become more self-responsible and teaches you to be a more organized person, which I think, as you said, trickles down to all aspects of your life. So actually, Bitcoin makes you a much better person, not just in the sense of that your purchasing power goes up, but you actually become a more responsible person, which I don't know if that was Satoshi's intent by design, but it's beautiful how it's coming through. And I think, Bitcoin as a technology was like the time it came out was, I don't believe in perfection, but if you could call it as perfect as possible, like the timing was perfect, because the world we live in today is ridiculous. Like as our friend Knut calls it, clown world. And, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's just absolute, not even a Hollywood movie. It's dystopia. And then Bitcoin is really kind of this beam of hope, not just your financial hope, but your actual sovereign. How do I get through this and live, a self-sovereign life?
Yeah, I mean, like, look, if shit hits the fan, in
Which it is.
theoretically, and it's we're close. Like imagine how you want to transfer and transport assets that are like the traditional ones, like from, let's put it like from the US to Latin America, from Europe to Latin America. How you going to do it? Like, okay, we've seen already many examples in European Union. It's going like really south. In Canada during the COVID, we've seen freezing bank accounts because you are supporting a cause that government don't like.
Crazy.
So this is totally crazy. And yeah, there's no other way around. If you want to be fully sovereign over your assets, you don't have any other option. Like even stocks that they are regulated, they are on the exchange. If obviously it's much more complicated, but theoretical option exists. And everybody's gonna say like with a gold in 6102 in 1933 in the US. Okay, hey, gold is not working anymore for you. We are taking all your gold. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but you are not fully sovereign with assets that are reliable on the third parties. And all those brokers and exchanges, these are the third parties. Governments are gatekeepers. And they say, okay, we don't like you. We don't like your profile. We don't like what you're doing. We don't like what you're saying. We don't like how you behave. We don't like that you are not paying enough taxes. We don't like whatever. And in that case, okay, hey, we're going to take negative premium on your savings on the bank account, and now minus
and your
5%
Coinbase account
on your Coinbase account. Exactly. And yeah, so it's really shitty. So you want to be as sovereign as possible. And also I learned one interesting thing, or lately I was thinking about it, that more and more Bitcoiners, besides being more and more responsible, like we mentioned, I can see that more and more Bitcoiners are becoming like a preppers. I don't mean like a standard preppers in a way like, okay, I need to have a cans of food in the basement, but more like a preppers of, okay, if something's going on and I'm like a big kind of preaching that lifestyle, you should have an emergency bag at home. You should have some EDC, everyday carry, that you are wearing with you daily. What should be in those, let's say, backpacks or kind of fanny packs or whatever you're wearing. What not to miss, what to have there. And I can see that more and more Bitcoiners are kind of like prepping if something goes bad. So I'm ready. I got the documents ready. I got like basic food with me. I know where my hardware wallets are. I know where my documents and passports are. Is it in the emergency bag or not? And kind of like that approach to be fully sovereign and like to be able to bag out in 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, I agree totally on that. It's, I love to live my life with this saying, it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Because like if things go really sour really fast, you don't want to be in the panic mode of like, oh, where's the passport? Where's this? Where's that? And every minute counts in some cases. So yeah, I agree with you. Having a preparation and having a plan B, which we'll discuss in a little while, is also something that's very important to all the Bitcoiners. So, but before we get to that topic, there's one next step I want to take with you, Stallion, which, as we said, most Bitcoiners don't practice self-custody still yet today in 2025. They keep their stack on Coinbase or River or Strike or whatever they use to DCA their coins. But then the next level up, which is something that you actually released a blog post earlier today before jumping on this call that I enjoyed reading, about the inheritance planning for Bitcoiners. So even the minority of Bitcoiners that practice self-custody, there's a tiny percentage of them that have an actual inheritance plan strategy and something in place in case tomorrow a bus hits them or they don't wake up from their sleep. Why do you think this is something that's so critically overlooked as part of the sovereignty path that people want to take?
Yeah, like this is a pretty complicated topic, I would say. Yeah, like you said, it's a next step. Like when you handle self-custody, then you should think about inheritance planning. Oh, of course, there is one option that you're doing the approach that die with zero. That's also valuable option. That there are people that saying, okay, I'm going to die with zero. In that case, you don't have to deal with any inheritance. For others, they want to, for example, give something away to their kids and other generations. So you should think that through, what to do with that. And like you mentioned, you never know when that can happen. You say, okay, I'm 20, I'm 25. Okay, I got 60 years ahead of me. That's true. On the other hand, you never know when the buzz hits you and everything's over. And if you had like kind of like a treasure hunt scheme, nobody will find it. So yeah, I wrote a blog post about how to think about it. Like I just put like two basic perspectives on that. And the one is more like a cypherpunk way, where we want to have everything under our control. Meaning that, let's say, your spouse, your girlfriend, might be enlightened into that kind of approach to a certain way. So if something's happening to you, she can like decipher where might be the seeds or shamir backup parts and portions may be stored. So there will be kind of like I mentioned, the treasure hunt with some kind of information and helping to discover
Instruction manual.
Yes, structured manual, like not directly explain explicitly, but more like a guidance. Okay, how to get to your treasure. I believe it's not for everyone, because like you need to be organized. You need to know where it is. You should, like I'm putting there in the article, you should check it like every year, that you know where are your backups, if it's still working, if it's everything functional, if there's any kind of downside, or maybe one location might be compromised, you should redo it, everything. You need to also have it in kind of be in the loop that everything works. The benefit of that cypherpunk solution is that nobody knows anything. The state doesn't know about it. It doesn't have to go in your inheritance kind of official paperwork. So inheritance will know nothing about Bitcoin. It's not going to be mentioned in that. Okay, so there might be a property, there might be stocks, there might be cash in the bank, there might be anything, but there's not going to be Bitcoin. So the benefit of that is like you can still be under the radar if it's your intention. And obviously, what I'm trying to touch is like if your generation or your kids are not in line with your beliefs and kind of like your approaches, that you want to be working and living in a parallel economy, that you don't have to rely on the traditional system, and the moment you die they're going to go on an exchange and swap it into the fiat. I believe that might not be the best case scenario, because like they are going to liquidate it into fiat anyway. So I don't think that cypherpunk approach is the like a best case scenario for everyone. That's why there is another option, is to have kind of like a help from a third party. Oftentimes like
real estate planning, where it's all like documented through lawyers and
exactly
stuff.
Yeah, having a document with the lawyers, maybe in their office, or maybe you can have it in your vault at home, but being accessible to maybe your spouse, let's put it this way. And later on, you can start the whole inheritance process in a legal way. It can go down the stream to your kids and to your spouse. And obviously, it's going to become a legal. Benefit of that is that in many countries, it got like tax benefits, because if it's in a direct bloodline, so oftentimes there are no kind of like inheritance taxes. Exactly. The downside is the state knows everything. And the downside of that inheritance planning, if it's with a physical person, and I'm not talking about a kind of like a corporate structure or some sovereign funds, it's a little bit different story. But with a physical person, the downside is that all those inheritance documents are available to different governmental offices. And if you want to go to the bank and say, look, my husband here had a bank account opened, and I need to close that bank account and transfer all that value to my bank account. What they're going to ask for is a legal document from an inheritance, and
Mm.
you have to disclose it. Unfortunately, on that document, there's everything stated. So there is stated how many properties you owned in the past, how many cash you owned in the bank, how many bitcoins she inherited from you, because it's everything on that. And
Mm.
it's not possible to kind of like black all those parts and
Yeah.
black it out. It needs to go in the original one, and they make a photocopy of it. So
Mm.
then you're disclosing basically to all the governments, all the banks, and all the states what you're owning, and you have it. So always there is a trade-off, and the trade-off in that kind of solution is that everyone will know what you sit on it, and it can have like a major downsides in like kind of OPSEC,
Yeah.
because you never know who works in the bank, and from that bank that the employee can take a photocopy for themselves and just know some friends and say, look, I had a customer here, and the lady came in today, and she came with an inheritance document, and there was like a $50 million
Mm.
because like they got a $49 million in the BTC.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
imagine, so that kind of like a OPSEC kind of repercussions are crazily bad, and everybody needs to decide which way to go, what they want to do, and you have to take time. And I don't believe that you can do it in 1 hour. You probably need a couple of days. Okay, go to chalet in the mountains without the internet. Just close the door, sit there, open a bottle of wine. Just try to come up with a sensible kind of solution for your situation in your
Yeah.
age, and
Yeah.
say, okay, hey, we're everyone from our family, we are on the same page. We're going to do the cypherpunk way, and that's why I'm going to structure everything in that way. Or you
Mm.
put it vice versa, and you say, okay, my family doesn't understand anything. They are just kind of like locked in the matrix, and I know that they are not going to be working with BTC. So in that case, I'm going to create another different kind of strategy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that has to be kind of thought through. It needs time. And I think like every 5 years, you should reevaluate if it still applies.
Mm.
Okay, are your kids on the board with you still? Or kids have changed? Or your wife is still on board with you?
Or
You
it's a
have
new wife.
yeah, or she's totally getting crazy, and she's not going to work and cooperate. So you should evaluate every kind of major situation in your life
Mm.
and project that kind of situation into your inheritance planning.
I love it. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There is no best path on how to do it. I do the same thing with my Become Unruggable mentees when they say, I want an inheritance plan. You know, Gigi, what's the best inheritance plan? And I'm like, listen, like, how do you want to take it? Like, how far do you want to take it? What's your case? And these things always change. It's not like what we plan today and we set up. That doesn't mean in 20, 30 years, you'll still want it to be that way. So it's something that you continuously, doesn't have to be every year, but like every 5 years, as you said, is a good time frame to evaluate, see if you want to change some structure. And usually the cypherpunk way is the best way, because I mean, the case, if you've been holding Bitcoin for a long time and you have younger kids, like in my case, I have a 5 and a 3-year-old daughter. They already see Bitcoin as the best form of money. There's no like point for me in the future to convert them to like quote unquote orange pill them. To them, they're like, they know about Bitcoin. It's just a matter of time. Once they're of the age, I show them where the treasure hunt is. How do they access in case I'm not here tomorrow? And usually that's the best case, but everybody's different circumstances, even some families, which are ultra high net worth individuals. Cypherpunk might not be their main ethos. They may be just like, I want to have things structured with my family office lawyer. In case something, you know, my jet crashes tomorrow, he'll take care of the whole stuff. So it really depends on what it is. And that's what I love about Bitcoin. It gives you that optionality. You know, I recently had a show with also a fellow guest from Prague, what's his name, with Jura, and he said like optionality is the key to like everything. As long as you have options, like that's his true like main pillar of freedom. It's not just having X amount of money, because if you have like 1,000 Bitcoin, but you're stuck in one location and you can't move out there, you're not really that free. But if you have the optionality to shift, to change things, that's the true freedom. So optionality is really a strong basis to have.
Yeah, definitely. I can 100% sign that. It's true. You don't want to have all eggs in one basket, I'm saying.
Yeah. And I guess on that topic of optionality, I think it's a nice way to transition to hacking lives, which I mentioned. We're coming up nearly to an hour in the intro that Stallion is the CEO of Hacking Live. And we didn't even touch upon what is Hacking Live? Why did you start Hacking Live? But I think one of the strong pillars of hacking lives is optionality. May that be through a second passport, as you mentioned recently. May that be through setting up your business entity in a different jurisdiction. May that be just you living a nomadic lifestyle. So tell us, what is hacking lives, and how did you come around to launching that?
Yeah, like, look, hacking lives, it's about hacking lives. And
It's in the name.
Yeah, in many aspects. So basically what happened was like, I'm really into many topics I like. That's why I write blog posts about like Bitcoin a lot, about like inheritance planning, self-custody blog post. It's not just about Bitcoin, but then it's I wrote a blog about mentals, because I'm a little bit into like how to take care of the body, also especially when you're getting older. So you also want to.
Well, your name is Stallion online. It would be weird if you would be like a chips junkie with the name Stallion, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you want to tackle that kind of, hacks on your life in your health issues. You want to also having hacks in your mobility. I call it like a being mobile globally is really important, because you never know, like we mentioned, what can happen in the future.
Yeah.
So you want to maintain mobility. And obviously in this world where we have like almost like 200 jurisdictions, they're playing kind of that game. Okay, you need to have our passport or residency or kind of whatever card it is to be able to live in this country. And that passport is not going to be working for living in another country, if we not talking about tourism, but about living. So we're playing that kind of weird game that you need to have access to other countries. And obviously, imagine it's going to be war, EU is going to everything kind of try
Collapses?
to repress your liberties, and kind of like try to monitor what you're doing online and offline, and what are your habits in spending and so on, and controlling your money and controlling your life. So you say,
which
okay,
is already happening, by the way. Not if one day, it's just getting worse.
This
and
is
worse
happening. Yeah. So you can say fuck it, and I'm going somewhere else. But to be able to say fuck it, you need to have option. And that optionality comes from, okay, so where can I be living? And there are so many kind of boxes you have to tick. And those boxes can be a little bit different for everyone else, for everyone. So what we're talking about is like, okay, is that country in Europe or in the US or in Latin America or in Asia? Do we want to live close to the sea or not close to the sea? Do we want to be in a country that is highly developed, or is that not that important? Do we want to have a cheap lifestyle or expensive lifestyle? Do we want to have kind of like these posh kind of like blinkery stuff like in Emirates? Or we are going to be in some cheap country in Latin America that is not having these kind of options, but, for example, is much more free in costs of living and in liberties, and you can have a laid-back lifestyle and doing whatever you want, because you don't have to make...
Sign me up to that one, Stallion, please.
Yeah. So options are really important. And so yeah, it's about money. It's about your global mobility. It's about your health. It's about your privacy. It's about your security. It's about like hacks in kind of like operational security, your informational security, what you're doing online and not doing to protect your family, to protect your kids. So not everybody needs to know everything. So you kind of like putting all those puzzles together, and the result is you should create kind of like a complex structure. And okay, I tackled, like, let's say, my health, I'm training regularly and eating well. I tackled my mobility because I got this and that passport and I got residencies there and there. I tackled my tax residency because I selected the most beneficial tax residency for me to be able to pay low taxes, if any. I tackled kind of like kind of privacy online, what to do and not to do, and I told that to other family members. I tackled the security, so we are not going to be posting online this and that, so not to be like having a bullseye on the back. So yeah, there are many kind of options in that area.
Yeah, and what drove you to do it? I mean, was this something that you were already helping out people previously, or like what drove you to actually make this into a business and something that you do day in and day out?
It's pretty cool to be Jason Bourne now.
It is indeed. I can't argue that. But I mean, like, what did you previously do before running Hacking Lives?
Yeah.
Was it something similar, or was that a 180 shift?
Yeah, the journey was totally different, but it led me to what I'm doing right now. My company was a global company. So we're doing a business in like 40 countries across the globe.
Wow.
And the point was, my responsibility in the company was basically doing kind of like a sales and education with the distributors across the globe. So I would say more than a decade, I was just living everywhere and nowhere. So it was a lot about changing places. It was a lot about traveling. It was a lot about like living in different jurisdictions globally and basically running a company. This is what I mentioned in the beginning, that I had no time to study Bitcoin because I was too busy to run a company.
Yeah.
So, but the experience of living in different jurisdictions like came to my mind because like I was not living in any place. Like we are not talking about even 6 months. We are talking about like maybe 3 months, and from one place to then moving to another place and trying to kind of like boost the business in that location. So I was like, why am I being a tax resident in the country where I don't want to be a tax resident? Because my life is nowhere. And I can select where I want to be a tax resident because like I'm not staying in one country more than, like I said, maybe 3 months. And if
But in that case, sorry for interrupting, you can essentially be a tax resident of nowhere if you're constantly like every 3 months on the move, no? As long as you don't spend more than 183 days in a certain
Yeah, but being a tax resident nowhere is not that good because like if you still want to operate, let's say, with a traditional banking system,
you need a tax number.
A lot of banks are having a much bigger scrutiny if you're saying, hey, my tax residency is nowhere. So it is theoretically possible, but it's better to select a tax residency somewhere where you can be a tax resident and can benefit your lifestyle in terms of like, okay, I need to open a bank account in Switzerland. So Switzerland is going to ask you, okay, what is your tax residency? And if you tell them like nowhere, they're like, okay, this is not a standard. We don't have any... we don't have a kind of like a format for it, so we cannot open a bank account for you. But if you tell them I have a tax residency somewhere, so they are, yeah, cool, no problem. So it's much better to have it somewhere. And basically my lifestyle just led me to that. And I realized like, okay, so I need more options and I need more mobility in global life to be able to live in more continents. And I basically on myself, because I had that need the same like with Bitcoin, and I needed to transfer money from one spot to another and from one person to another. I had the same need for myself, and I said, look, I need solution for myself to have more options with documents globally, to be able to travel, to be able to live in more countries, and also to have that benefit of a tax residency, because that's going to help me tremendously. So I went down that rabbit hole. Like everything went, tried what is possible, impossible, where are the legal loopholes or those kind of like routes that are totally official, but most oftentimes hidden or kind of like undiscovered. So yeah, it started that way, and since then it was like the way to do it, because in a couple of years now we can see that people are thinking more and more about the like plan B. And look, a lot of people are like, I want to live in Europe, but if it comes to a certain point where I'm like fed up, I cannot handle it much more, so I'm packing my backpack and I'm moving somewhere else, because then I'm going to be better off in another country and I'm going to be doing what I want to do. So a lot of people are about, like we said, not having all eggs in one basket. And then there is another group, like you mentioned, a big one is more about like, yeah, if you are in your 20s, 30s, a lot of digital nomads are like, okay, I'm living in Thailand or in Malaysia or in Latin America. I need to optimize my running a business. So, okay, to set up a business structure through effective US company and with effective tax residence on like a physical person, and combine all that kind of tiny bits together, so then you can create kind of like a solution that is strong enough to run effectively a business with a low bureaucracy and with zero taxes.
Yeah, and I think this is an ever-growing demand in your case, because more and more people, not just young but also older, especially as we mentioned, kind of the dark ages that are coming to Europe. A lot of people are looking for an optional, call it plan B or whatever you want to call it, like an alternative how to optimize their life. And so I think there'll be much more and more demand as we go forward. Are you of the same thinking, Stallion?
Yeah, like I can see a lot of interest from families. Obviously a lot of like a Bitcoiners families, but Bitcoiners, like we mentioned, understand that having options, okay, having a backups, and oftentimes they don't want to have a backup B, they want to have a backup B and backup C. And so yeah, I can see more questions on that topic, like, hey, look, I'm not playing one card, I need more cards in my hand.
I need the whole deck.
Yeah, I need a whole deck. So I need to come up with something. Oftentimes I'm saying, look, start at home, open the notebook and start planning, because I would say like you can do a pretty vast amount of steps at home, because like a lot of people are missing the right documents, having no documents at all at home, maybe having just one passport at home, and they are eligible in many countries to have more passports from the same country, like issued multiple passports, for example. Like a lot of having that emergency bag, having that EDC prepared, and so on. So you can do maybe 40-50% at home. You don't even need to pay any money to anyone. You can just do it. And when you're organized in this one, you can step up the game a little bit and say, look, now we have this organized. Let's come up with plan B for us and our family, or where are the options across the globe to have a residency with low requirements, that we don't have to like deal with spending enough time in that country, but having it if something happens. So there are a couple of countries that offering that, and kind of like a building up step by step. Sometimes people are like, if they're wealthy enough, thinking about the passports and maybe buying a passport as a CBI, like with this citizenship by investment. But there we're talking about like 100-fold from like a residency cost, because like citizenship is a totally different game. So there are always options. It's more about like trying to find the right fit for the right person in their means like possible means, and saying, look, this is maybe overkill for you, but this one might be a good start to do that. If you're gonna be happy with it, okay, we can do another step,
Yeah.
because it can be like phased out a little bit. And yeah, like trying to create, I call it like be more autonomous, more autonomy on your side. Yes, it comes the responsibility with that, but the freedom too.
For sure. And sounds a lot like Bitcoin self-custody, right? There's no one best solution for anyone. It's see what you need, and you can always upgrade it further there, and can end up essentially in a multi-sig vault if you want to take it that far. We kind of mentioned that there's a lot of options now. I don't want to go, spend another hour talking about different options that are out there, but I want to bring up one particular location, which I know is something that you've been very passionate about. And a lot of Bitcoiners at this year's BTC Prague have either already transitioned there, are in the process of transitioning there. And then a vast amount of people, including Gigi, was like, I want to know more about this place. And I guess, where I'm leading with this, that place is Paraguay. And I wanted to ask you, what makes Paraguay so appealing to the sovereign-minded individuals today?
Okay, let me put it first in one sentence, and then we can,
sure,
deep dive. One sentence is efficient tax residency with a zero kind of like requirements. What that means. Paraguay is one of really a few countries offering you a tax residency without needing to live in the country. So you don't have to live in the country to be able to be a tax resident. So that works for nomads, for example. Nomads want to live in Thailand 3 months, and 3 months Malaysia, and 3 months Spain, and 3 months, I don't know, Colombia. In that case, they are not living anywhere more than half a year, so they can select their own tax residency. But generally speaking, across the globe, it's pretty complicated, because like most of the countries, they require to be a tax resident that you need to live in the country more than 6 months a year.
Yeah.
So for example, I don't know, Panama. Okay, you want to be a Panamanian tax resident, you need to live more than 6 months in the country. But in case of Paraguay, you don't have to deal with this. So you can voluntarily become a tax resident, but you don't have to stay in the country. So that's why it's so beneficial for nomads. And this is what drives a lot of nomads to Paraguay, even though they are not living in Paraguay in many cases. So,
and is there like a minimum requirement? But from my understanding and my research, you do need to visit like a couple of times a year, but it can just be like for a week, right? Or you don't even have to do that.
About visits, it's tied to physical residency, obviously. So yeah, to be a tax resident, you need to be a physical resident.
Two different things. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But to be able to be a tax resident, you have to be a physical resident. And obviously to be a physical resident, there is one requirement. And the requirement is that with a temporary resident, you need to be like in the country once a 2 years.
Wow.
And later, after 2 years, you can upgrade for a permanent residency. That permanent residency is indefinite. So you got a permanent residency forever. And after 10 years, you need to renew your ID cards, because it's in every single country, it's the same. Your ID card is having an expiration date. So you just need to renew it in 10 years. But besides that, you need to visit Paraguay once every 3 years. Wow. So you take a trip in 3 years, I don't know, from Thailand
go for your holiday. Go for your family holiday to Paraguay.
You go for a holiday, you have a good steak,
Yeah. Talking about good nutrition, it's a nice place to stack up on some steak.
You visit a good Bitcoin meetup, because this is another thing. You join the community, visit a Bitcoin meetup, you have a good steak, and then you can leave again, and you need to be back in 3 years. So although 3 years, you don't have to be there. So that's why it works for that plan B. And that's why it works also for those digital nomads, because what they're seeking for is a tax residence. And the tax residence is possible in Paraguay without any kind of hiccups. And that plan B works for a lot of families and individuals because they know that their only requirement with a permanent residency is once every 3 years to be in the country, which means, okay, let's go to Ecuador, and going to Ecuador, we stop in Paraguay. In next 3 years, let's go to Brazil. We've never been to Floripa. Okay, let's go to Floripa, but let's stop in Asunción. Okay, now let's go to Argentina. Let's go to Buenos Aires. But on the way to Buenos Aires, let's stop in Asunción. So you basically make a family trip every 3 years to Latin America, and you're settled.
And with regards to, I don't want to go to too much details. I'm sure that listeners who are interested in this can reach out to Stallion, and you'd be happy to guide them down the process. But just personally, how complicated, and are there any requirements that you need? Do you need like to have a bank account locally in Paraguay to do it, and with X amount of money in it, or is just like a pretty much straightforward application process, of course, with someone that knows what they're doing in that country?
Again, rare exception. It's one of the simplest residency processes globally.
Wow.
Because one of the really huge benefit I see is that Paraguay doesn't require to know what is your income and what is your net worth. So they don't really want to see if your income monthly is $1,000, $2,000, $5,000. They don't require this information. So it's really good for your financial privacy, because a lot of other countries, Argentina, Uruguay, Panama, and Colombia, Mexico, they require that you get a minimum monthly income to be able to apply for a residence. In Paraguay, there's no limit, so you don't have to disclose anything from your financial statements. This is great privacy thing. What I can tell is that okay, now it's sharp. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. What the only requirement that is really strict is a criminal record, and it needs to be clean. If your criminal record is not clean, it's almost impossible to make it happen.
No bueno.
No. So that what I would say is really important. But other than that, from the paperwork, it's pretty straightforward and simple. Obviously, there is a lot of paperwork on the back end, and you need to have a lot of other police clearances. But it can be handled that the client basically doesn't have to do that and go through it, and including Interpol and so on. So you are not having any red alert on yourself and so on. But I mean, no requirements at all if putting it in comparison with other countries.
Amazing. Well, I guess you answered the why is it so popular. I guess anyone listening in is considering like what could be a nice plan B after listening to our conversation here. I guess Paraguay could be potentially the one at the top of your list to explore. And I'm sure if you want to learn more or kind of go deeper onto this, I'm sure Stallion and Hacking Lives team would be happy to assist. Before we wrap up.
And by the way, Bitcoin community growing.
And Bitcoin
crazily.
Community, which is a huge thing, which is another thing which is super important. It's not just finding a place that you can have a residency and minimize your taxes, but also where are your people? And this is something that I'm personally now 1.5 years. Most listeners know. I don't know if you know, Stallion, but I left Europe and I moved to St. Petersburg, Russia. To me, particularly here, it's very comfortable. I have a wife that's here. I have a very nice loophole of my own where I don't need to declare nothing to anyone. I'm basically living under the radar. But one thing that's really missing, Jan, is the Bitcoin community. It doesn't exist. And like, to me, that's why when I go to Prague or anywhere or Riga or whatever it is, I'm counting those days to go connect with my people, and half the time. And as I progress, I'm like, I don't know how long I want to stay here, because I really am missing this community sense of being together with Bitcoiners, helping, brainstorming so many new possibilities of project services that could span up by you physically being somewhere, because it's fantastic connecting online and posting shit posts on X, but we are social creatures. We need to be connected and physically there. And I think that's another big plus of Paraguay, as you said, Jan, that you have a lot of Bitcoiners and a lot of things are being, grown there, which for now, that's all I'm hearing. I haven't visited myself. I'm really looking forward to visit it, perhaps even next year, to see it for myself. But I think that's a huge plus that people should consider.
Yeah, it grew from zero because like it was really scattered. But for it was a 1 year of a constant work. I think in June. So in June, when BTC Prague was happening, it was a 1 year that the community was kind of like working. Every single month there is a meetup, gathering all people, like a lot of expats and a lot of locals. I would say that now on those meetups are around like 150 people.
Oh wow!
So
it's
that's
not the average 5-10 people in a cafe.
No,
it's growing fast.
That's getting big. It's awesome. It's fantastic. A lot of kind of like a networking with other people. Another great thing is that Asuncion, like I mentioned, is not like a kind of like a final destination for a lot of people. And that's why there is a lot of fluctuation with people coming in and going out. So that means that every single month you got a different people at meetups. Obviously, there is always core team, but a lot of people are coming in and out. And so you can know within a 3-4 months, you know a lot of Bitcoiners because they, for example, visit Asuncion because they want to or they have to, you know. So yeah, there is a lot of movement and it's growing. If people want to, they can check bitcoinparaguay.org. So yeah, like, I mean, it's a fantastic. And like you mentioned, you are in the community. Okay, you want to do Vexel, you know, like peer-to-peer exchange.
Of course.
Yeah, look, I got here like 0.1 Bitcoin. I need Guarani or I need USD. You just put it in the community and you swap it within a day.
You actually find a peer, because I tried Vexel here in Russia, and 3 months down, I'm still waiting for someone to respond to my offer.
Yeah, like you need
people that are using it.
You need social circle. Yeah,
that's
obviously.
True. That's true.
And I mean, you can just pop up at the meetup and say, look, I got here like million guaranis and I need to swap it into BTC. Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm gonna do it. Because if you got 100 people there, you always find somebody who wants to do that. So
I love it.
Yeah, fantastic. Pearl economy is growing. Yeah, I love it.
Well, I guess to wrap up this fantastic conversation, I usually ask my guests, like, what is one piece of advice you would tell someone that's, you know, only starting their Bitcoin journey, but I'll shift it up slightly for you, Jan. For someone that's feeling stuck in the fiat system, but unsure where to begin, what's your one piece of advice to help them take the first step towards becoming a sovereign individual?
I think that Bitcoin is a really nice opener. I still believe that. Because, okay, what you're tackling is money. So try to understand money. Okay, why it doesn't work. Okay, so when you go in the Bitcoin rabbit hole, it's going to open other rabbit holes for you. So Bitcoin will be number one. You understand how it's important to be able to have a medium of exchange. You will understand what is a store of value. You will understand why fiat system is not working. That will lead you to your sovereignty, to your like a prepping. Okay, so what if something goes bad? Now I can be fully sovereign with the self-custody. When I tackle this one, like you mentioned, the self-custody, you will ask another questions. It will be like, now I got my money tackled, solved. I understand it. I need to also have some plan for my mobility and for my family to be mobile. So you start to go the journey. What can I do for that? And maybe you will start with prepping your emergency bag, or maybe your EDC, or maybe you are going to have more knives and more firearms as a step number one. But then later on, you will realize that, okay, it's not just about these physical items. I also need to have more identities or more identity cards. So you're going to go down the road. Okay, if in Austria something goes bad, okay, where am I going with a family? So you can think about that. Are we going to Middle East, or are we going to Latin America or Asia? So it will open another rabbit hole. When you will have that rabbit hole tackled down, it will be probably, what of our safety? Our safety, are we really in line with what we're telling about ourselves online? Are we using a Facebook or an Instagram? Is there anything personal? Are there photos of my children? Are there photos of my wife? Is there a geotagging or not? So you're going to be tackling maybe security. So I believe people, please start with Bitcoin, learn about money, and then I'm 100% sure that your next rabbit hole is going to be your safety and mobility. That is going to kind of like
Natural route.
naturally expand your interests, and you're going to be in another rabbit hole. You have a lot of work for 1 year to study.
Yeah.
That's going to be fantastic. I promise. It's a fantastic journey. And later on, okay, guys, then you can say, look, I'm on my way to become a Jason Bourne.
I love it. And once they're ready to become Jason Bourne, I guess, Stallion, this is the part where I ask, where would you like to send the listeners that want to learn more about this, get in touch with you? What are the best resources to send them to?
Okay, cool. They can check websites, hackinglives.com. So there is everything. Like you mentioned, there is a blog with a lot of articles and a lot of videos and podcasts. It's in English, a little bit different in Spanish, a little bit different in Czech. So there are like 3 different languages there. I would say that's the best source. I'm pretty active on Twitter. So yeah, Twitter, people find me there, but they can go through the Hacking Lives websites, and there is everything linked to, social medias and so on. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I guess that wraps up today's episode of Your Bitcoin Story. Huge thanks to Stallion for sharing your powerful journey from essentially system burnouts to building parallel structures through hacking lives. His work is a reminder that freedom isn't something we wait for. It's something we build. So thank you so much for taking the time to come on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a fantastic talk with you. I really enjoy it. We've been talking at BTC Prague. It was like, look, I would like to talk more about everything, but we are running against the time. So finally, we had 1 hour, 1 and a half to be able to talk a little bit. And just people
conversation will be continued.
Yeah, people remember that you have to fight for freedom. You have to fight for it. It's not granted, unfortunately. So you have to do everything possible to be sovereign with money and with your mobility and with everything, and to be safe.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone listening to this episode. If this episode resonated with you, you got some value out of it, please do like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. And don't forget to subscribe for more conversations with builders of the new world. And if you're still holding your Bitcoin on exchanges, which I don't know, how can you after listening to this conversation, don't wait any longer. Join my Become Unruggable self-custody mentorship program, where I'll guide you in uncovering the right tools, tactics, and mindsets for keeping your Bitcoin stack safe and sovereign for generations to come. DM me on X or Nostr, or check out the link in the show notes down below. And let's end it with this quote. You were born free. The system trained you to forget. It's time to remember. Thanks for listening. Stay sovereign, stay unruggable, and see you in the next one. Adios.
Adios.